Yo, what's up, guys? I'm back, Dan Thury at BFF. I apologize for not being here on Monday. I'm dealing with being a little bit sick. Was coughing a bunch. For those who were wondering why I wasn't on the episode for Monday's episode, that is the reason why. But I will be back on tonight with just Hopper and I. Nick is out of town. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about, news, and then my starts and sits. I'm going to try to get this done because we got to get recording soon, as it's Wednesday, day before Thanksgiving. So before I start, just a quick shout out to you guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope you have a great time with your family. Mine is 8 hours north in Minnesota, so I will not be doing anything for Thanksgiving besides working my ass off on time and a half. Quick news sets before we jump into starts and sits. Most of this, all of this is really just injury related, whether it be for this week or just things for some players who may have been in question to return this season. Jacoby Brissett was full practice today. Expect him to play this weekend. Brady is dealing with an Achilles injury. Brady was dealing with an Achilles injury, and he did not practice today. CJ Beathard is named the starter for this weekend. Garoppolo is still as the second string on the bench. Looks like they haven't moved on from him just yet, being Beathard. Cardinals have now ruled out both Palmer and David Johnson for this season. You can safely drop DJ in all redraft leagues. Jordan Reed will not play on Thursday. Fire up Reviti. More on that later. And then Greg Olsen is going to play this weekend, so motherfuck yeah. Love that dude. That's it for the news. I don't know, as I said, it was just more injury-related stuff. Moving on to my starts. Little bit of change up. Instead of going in depth on 3 players, 2 of my starts and a sleeper, or 2 of my sits and a bias where I'm just going to read off. I'm just going to do my 2 starters, and I'll just name off potential sleeper or then a buyer's beware type of thing instead of talking about 3 players and wasting more of your time. For my starts, QBs we'll start with Philip Rivers, slowly creeping back into the QB run range. Right now, he's a QB 13 on the season. Rivers has been inconsistent this season. That's really, really safe to say. If you guys have watched the games, you can definitely see that. But with him and Keenan Allen finally getting on the same page last week against Buffalo, I think this offense can finally start rolling. Entering the Dallas Cowboys without Sean Lee again is pretty fucking bad. Their offense can't get anything going with Tyron Smith out. No running game. Dak is getting his ass kicked, which is affecting the defense because the defense is always on the field, especially because Dak, I believe, has had 5 or 6 turnovers in these past 2 games. No Philip Rivers this week. I expect even top 6 numbers. Moving on to the most controversial quarterback, Tyrod Taylor. After this bullshit of last week and Nathan Peterman and Hopper's potential dreams being shut down in one half, Tyrod came back in the second half, gave you QB1 numbers. Granted, it was during garbage time, but nonetheless, you get to see his upside and why he's safe. I guess an underwhelming Chiefs team that's coming in that is starting to really unravel here. That's starting to creep over to the defensive side of the ball. Last week was a bad week for Eli Manning, and then to say that the Chiefs are good against bad quarterbacks, or at least below average quarterbacks. Tyrod can at least get it done on the ground. He may not be effective passing the ball, but his upside with running and always that upside to score a touchdown on the ground gives him that chance. And even with Kelvin Benjamin potentially not playing this week, he's proven this season pre-Kelvin Benjamin trade that he can get it done as a QB1 quarterback. Moving on to running backs. Sorry. Quick sleeper. I'm going to throw out my rankings here. Guys that I may like this week that I haven't really talked about. Derek Carr. I'm still riding this motherfucking train, goddammit. Broncos have been bad the last few weeks. They're still good against certain positions, but the defense is starting to show the effects of what happens when a good defense starts to get tuckered out in games as their offense can't perform. Oakland's got a bad defense, but this could be a shootout. I expect this game to be what we've maybe thought we were going to get last week against New England. It won't be a fireworks shootout, but I do expect Derek Carr to kind of get it going. Again, season not out of reach. I don't know why I keep double dipping back into this, but nonetheless, here I am. Moving on to running backs. The easiest one probably here is Samaje Perine. He looked good last week finally. Hopper absolutely loves Perine. Nick and I are not so much on that hype train. I like to poke fun at the majestic unicorn, as Hopper calls him. But he gets the 12th worst rush defense against running backs, and that's the Giants. They've also given up over 1,000 yards this season. They've only given up 5 rushing touchdowns, which is on the low side. But with Chris Thompson out, with no Rob Kelly, and they really didn't bring anybody in. Andre Ellington went to Houston, not to Washington as people thought he would. Perine could get himself involved in the passing game. They have some UDFA or some fucking who cares no guy as a pass catcher, but I expect Perine to at least see some targets in this offense. He's not a known pass catcher. They didn't need him in Oklahoma to be a pass catcher. But I do expect him to get involved a little bit more in the passing game. I expect him to get all the carries. This is a great matchup for him and to finally show us why people loved him so much as a workhorse back. Next, Latavius Murray. It's hard to predict which Vikings running back is going to blow up in a given week. McKinnon gets the safer upside just because of his work in the passing game. But when Murray can take advantage of a bad run defense, he gets used heavily in that offense. We saw it last week. We saw it a couple weeks ago. We even saw it against Baltimore without Brandon Williams. The Vikings look to Murray first, and if he gets it going, he gets involved, and he stays involved through most of the game. They get Detroit, who has given up 10 rushing touchdowns this season, which is second most in the league. Give me the guy that's going to probably fall into the end zone at the goal line over the pass catcher. I actually have McKinnon ranked higher, but Murray's more of this type of guy that I can pick. He's more of the flex option, as is McKinnon is more of an RB2 low and RB1 every week. As for my sleeper, even more so, I'm just going to quick look at the rankings here. Man, I don't like anybody. Amir Abdullah, he did really well against the Vikings their last time out, and he seems to not really be that guy that does greatly in great matchups. He tends to just show up. I don't expect this to be a high passing game for both teams. I expect both teams to try to rely on their defense and their running game to get it doing. Matthew Stafford in that short game will get involved. I like Amir, obviously Tevin Coleman, guys like that. Deion Lewis to continue that trend. So guys like that I do like as well this week. Moving on to the receivers. My first one, which was actually my start of the week that I'm going to be seeing on the show today, is Sammy Watkins. With Marshawn Lattimore a true question mark to play this week, I really like Watkins this week. They're going to be without Robert Woods for at least 2 weeks. And Sammy Watkins is likely going to drop P.J. Williams, who the Redskins picked on after Lattimore went out. I expect a couple deep bombs. It's hard to predict when he's going to boom, as he's more of a boom-bust receiver. But because Woods is out, he's likely to see his targets increase. So I love Watkins this week. I expect him and Goff to get it going, and I definitely expect the Rams to make sure that this chemistry gets going. As with Woods out for multiple weeks, the Rams need to start putting together and bring back this offense. Last week, they got really exposed against the Vikings. Now, granted, the Vikings are a great defense. The Saints have been up and up. Even without Lattimore in their top pass rusher, they're still a good defense. So the Rams are going to have to prove that they're still amongst the elite in the NFC, and that starts with Goff and Watkins and Kupp. T.Y. and then obviously Todd Gurley, but sorry, that's right. T.Y. Hilton's my next starter of the week. He's had about 4+ matchups. It's really hard to dictate a plus matchup any given week just because they change this throughout the year. But Hilton has dominated against bad secondaries. Tennessee doesn't have a great secondary. They're young, they're hungry, and they tend to feast on turnovers if they can get them. But Hilton has made his due this season beating up against those type of secondaries. His one bad game, unfortunately, did come against the Titans earlier this season, where he put up, I think he had 4 targets, 1 receptions for 19 yards and no touchdowns. But the Titans just gave up to fucking Heyday and then some to Antonio Brown. Now, granted, Hilton isn't Brown, but the Titans still have allowed 15 touchdowns this season, which is tied for the most. This is 2 wide receivers. So I expect Hilton, there's a chance for him to have a big week. It's going to be this week. Me and Hopper are very torn on this, as Hilton is in his bottom half of his receiver rankings, and I have T.Y. just outside of the top 12. I like him this week to have a nice little blow-up week. Now, this is all This is all if Jacoby Brissett plays, and it looks like he probably will. As my sleeper for the week, I had mentioned Cooper Kupp. Um, without Robert Woods, I expect Kupp to have a nice, very nice floor day, and an even better chance to score a touchdown. But we got to see what the Saints defense is like if they're missing with them missing their top pass rusher and Alex Okafor, and if Lattimore doesn't go, what it looks like there. Otherwise, Mike Wallace against this abysmal Houston secondary. Either him or Macklin, or maybe even both, could get it going this week. Houston has given up lots of points to receivers over the last since their bye week. Really, I don't think Fitz reached 100 yards. I don't think any receiver reached 100 yards last week. That was with fucking Blaine Gabbert. First start of his since he left fucking Jacksonville. He almost threw for 300 yards. So I do like Mike Wallace, and I do like Jeremy Macklin and the Ravens receivers, and also Jamison Crowder without Terrell Pryor and without Chris Thompson and without Jordan Reed. Kirk Cousins is going to rely on him and Davis, who I'm going to get to in a second, and then potentially up here on Doxson. That's it for my receivers. Next, tight ends, Greg Olsen. The motherfucker is back. I love this dude. The Panthers are missing him. They traded away Calvin Benjamin because they believed in Devin Funchess as the #1 receiver. They knew they were getting Greg Olsen back. They just had to wait out the storm. They haven't really found their second receiver there. Curtis Samuel went and broke himself to Hopper's demise, or whatever the fuck you want to say, who hates Samuel with a passion. And the show, we don't like him either, but he had 7 targets in the first half before he went down against Miami. So granted, he was getting it going. You get Greg Olsen back, which is Cam Newton's safety blanket. He fucking loves this guy. I expect Greg Olsen to get involved heavily in this game against the Jets, who's given up 6 touchdowns this season to tight ends. They're a bottom half team against tight ends. Bring them out there. And next is, I've mentioned Vernon Davis a bunch. Rule VD. We are pro VD. We are pro motherfucking phrasing show. Jordan Reed's been officially ruled out. When Jordan Reed's out, you play the next guy up, and that's Vernon Davis. So get his ass in there. They're playing against the fucking Giants, who have given up 10 touchdowns this season. You play your tight ends against the Giants. They fucking score. Now, the Giants are starting to play with a little more passion since last week, and especially when they beat the Chiefs. But as I just said, Chris Thompson's out. Kirk Cousins is going to be relying on his short passing game to help open up the deep passing plays for guys like Josh Doxson. So guys like Vernon Davis, Jamison Crowder, maybe even Pirine, these guys should get a heavy enough dosage in the beginning of the game, because that's going to help set up the deeper passes, especially if the running game doesn't get going, even though I think it will. Moving on to my sits. Oh, I guess you guys probably want my sleeper tight end. Tyler Kroft. I believe Cincinnati's playing against Cleveland, who's giving up the second most tight ends. Second most touchdowns, tight ends this year. I think it's 7. I think they're bottom 5 against them. Tyler Kroft, Andy Dalton likes to throw to his tight ends in the red zone. So we can't do much worse than some touchdown upside here with Tyler Kroft. Moving on to sits, Alex Smith. Decent matchup this week. Not the greatest, not the worst. But Alex Smith is falling back to earth. He has put up mid QB2 numbers since week 8. He's averaging 13.2 points per game. That's over their last 3 games. This offense is completely unraveled. Kareem Hunt hasn't get it going. Tyreek Hill is inconsistent. The nice saving grace is Travis Kelce, but Alex Smith is the highlight here. And even in plus matchups, I don't like Alex Smith. I need to see more from the Chief offense for me to start believing in these playmakers more. Next, Eli Manning. Again, not the worst matchup. Washington doesn't have a great defense against quarterbacks, receivers, really anything at this point. They're good at pass rushing. That's about it. But it looks like Sterling Shepard may not play. It's Thursday. He didn't practice, or he was limited, one of the two. I don't think he practiced at all. Doesn't make his availability for Thursday look great. So this is just right down to Evan Ingram as his only reliable target, and even in a plus matchup, it's hard for me to see Manning put up a decent week with only one viable receiving option. Buyers beware. Uh, Jared Goff, even without the Saints, even with potentially Marshawn Lattimore not playing and then Alex Okafor off for the year, which is the Saints' top pass rusher, they still have a good defense. Goff really hasn't done well against these type of matchups, as I mentioned last week, as he was one of my sits of the week. You can roll him out there with a little more confidence if Lattimore doesn't go. But I still do not like him, at least for this week. I believe his schedule really lightens up, though, afterwards. Excuse me, I'm still battling here, being sick a little bit. Moving on to running backs, Doug Martin. I haven't really called him out yet. It's been pretty obvious that you're not going to play him, but this is my chance to call him out. It's been a tough fucking season for this dude. He's one of my dudes coming into this year. Then again, everybody loved the Bucs offense coming in this year. It's been a fucking shit show. Martin hasn't scored since week 6, which is the second game back. He hasn't reached 100 total yards this season. Atlanta is the top 10 run defense against running backs. Now on the road this season, which is for 4 games, Martin's averaging 14.5 carries, 37 yards, and 0.25 touchdowns. He scored 1 touchdown on the road this season. Passing game, though, even a little bit worse. He doesn't give all the passing game either. He averages 2 targets, 1.25 receptions, and 11.25 yards. Very little floor. At this point, you can bench him, and in 12 teams or less, you can probably cut him. 16 teams, I still like the fact he's getting all the carries, so there's still upside there. But he's not getting it going, so you can't play him. It's as simple as that. Kenyon Drake, fuck you, by the way. He was my start of the week last week. That completely fucking tanked. I think he had 7 carries for 4 yards. He got 1 reception on 2 targets for 10 yards. So my bad there, guys. But it looks like maybe Tampa Bay is coming back down, or just Drake isn't that great of a running back. Williams is the starter. It looks like at this point he's out-touched Drake, I believe, all 3 games. Maybe besides their first one against Oakland, but the last 2 for sure he's out-touched. He's out-carried Drake, too. Drake was supposed to be more of the runner. Williams was supposed to be more of the pass catcher. Well, Williams getting all the touches. Granted, both him and Williams didn't do shit last week. Outside of Williams' big run, the whole running game was completely horseshit. But with Williams as a starter and Drake on the bench, we need to see what the roles are now going forward, and I just need to see what Drake's role is and if he can get that starting job back for me to trust him again. It's as simple as that. More running back buyers beware. Patriot running backs, it's a good matchup, but it's hard to trust which one's going to get it. C.J. Anderson, the whole Denver backfield. Anderson, I believe, was outsnapped by Devonta Parker. So in this matchup, that may lean more pass catching against Oakland if it becomes a little more high scoring. You may see less C.J. Anderson. Looks like the time's up, for C.J. It looks like maybe Denver's going to start moving on from their more dispendable pieces as they look towards the future here. So would it be shocking if C.J. starts to see less and less work moving forward? Moving on to receivers, Marvin Jones. He's likely to see Rhodes on the outside as Tate plays more of the inside. And with Galladay back from injury, it really becomes either really hit or miss when it comes to the deep shots taken. Jones doesn't get the nice safety net that we've seen back when Galladay was hurt, and it was really just him and Tate with a little bit of the other Jones in there. He's now regulated back to that deep threat type of role, as I don't really know what the Lions want to do with him. For me this week, though, bad matchup. He's really hit or miss since Galladay has been back, and same with Tate. I just expect Tate to have a better day than Jones this week, and I don't expect Jones to do shit. Simple as that. Nelson Aguilar, my other sit, dude has come back down the earth hard. Since week 8 or their last 3 games, he's averaging a shitty 4 points per game in PPR leagues. He's been nothing. This passing offense goes through Alshon Jeffrey, who is now on great rapport with Carson Wentz, and through Zach Ertz. Really, it's all been Jeffrey. Ertz has been banged up, had a bad week in his healthy week last week. And everyone else is just kind of there. They've leaned heavy on their running game. They don't need Wentz to do as much, which is better for them because Wentz can still do a lot. Just that they have a running game that's been effective and has been working. So for them, it's Wentz not throwing the ball as much as they need to equals guys like Torrey Smith, Nelson Aguilar, Matt Collins. These guys are now low end, and guys like Aguilar is barely a flex play at all. You can almost drop him. And Jeffrey and Ertz are the only two reliable options, guys you're going to throw out there week in and week out. In terms of my potential bust candidates for receivers, both Oakland receivers and Crabtree and Cooper. Denver's so good against receivers, at least based on fantasy points, and that inconsistency in that offense makes it really hard. I know I just said that I like Carr as potential sleeper this week, but it's hard to know which receiver gets it. You know, prior to last week, it's been Cooper getting the targets. Now Crabtree led them all in targets. It's who the fuck knows? And Crabtree may lead the team in targets, at least amongst him and Cooper, but Cooper got the touchdown. So who the fuck knows? Which was in garbage time and at the end of the game. So I don't like them. Broncos receivers are completely hit or miss right now. Paxton Lynch is a starter, so it's confirmed today. Sorry, I didn't do it in the news because who the fuck cares? So we don't know what we're going to get from him with that. There's not enough of a data pool or whatever for us, a sample size for us to dictate on who we think is going to do well. You can say Thomas and Sanders because they're both really good receivers, but who knows? Moving on to tight ends, I'm not going to do any potential busts here just because of time. Julius Thomas, look, he's been okay since they traded Ajayi and the offense started to click a little bit more with him. We don't know if Cutler is going to go. And the Patriots are just really good against tight ends right now. They just held Jared Cook in check last week. And over the last 4 weeks, they've allowed under 3 points per game to tight ends. So don't like them this week at all. Cameron Brate, I'm fucking done with you. God damn it. God damn you, the fucking Bucks. Entire fucking offense. You guys are fucking assholes. Right now it's O.J. Howard's. Looks like to be O.J. Howard's time. He got majority of the work, more work than Brate. Last week, it looks like they're going to start moving towards their younger pieces and their more non-dispendable pieces. They drafted Howard in the first round. They want to see what they have in them before, as they keep moving on into the season. I think Brate gets worked out of the offense. Not completely, but enough to not be trusted in fantasy. That's all I got this week for you guys. Apologize for my voice. Again, I'm at Dan Thury at Thury BFF. I will be back on tonight for the podcast show with Chris Hopper at Hop BFF. Nick Sparks at Nick Sparks is heading back home to Minnesota, where we're both from, to visit family over the weekend for Thanksgiving. Again, hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. I don't know what Nick's gonna do tomorrow if he does anything. Otherwise, Hopper will be back on Friday for his DFS plays, and I'm assuming Nick will do ins and out. If not, I'll get in touch to see if I can help him with that, or if Hopper can help him with that. But as of right now, you're going to get me and Chris tonight on the podcast. Friday, it's really up in the air to see what happens as it's holiday week and we have full-time jobs and families. So again, I'll catch you guys next week. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week, as I just said. Fucking peace.